I want a divorce. I'll give you $50 million. Javier's coming back. My wife, Isabella Rossi, slid a divorce agreement across the marble countertop. I was stunned. I'd woken up inside a novel, and not just any novel. I was the pathetic loser of a side character, the husband in a marriage of convenience. According to the original plot, I was supposed to cling to Isabella pathetically, refusing to leave. She was the Ice Queen CEO, a goddess on a pedestal, and for my troubles, I got a $100,000 monthly stipend. Who wouldn't want that life? Me. I didn't want it anymore. The deal was we'd be married for 3 years, but no touching. Isabella's heart had always belonged to her great lost love, a guy named Javier Morales. To her credit, her moral code was strong enough to prevent any physical cheating, but a mental affair is still an affair. Then again, it was a contract marriage. She was paying for the privilege. Smack, smack, smack. I slapped myself hard across the face, cursing inwardly. This is what you get for binging trashy web fiction on Trashfire Reads. This is what you get. The loser, the cuckolded husband, the guy whose only weapon was whining. But I love you. God, it was pathetic. This wasn't even one of those satisfying revenge stories where the guy gets the girl back in the end. The character of Isabella Rossi never looked back. Regret wasn't in her vocabulary. Even if she felt it, she'd sooner die than admit it. What are you doing? Playing the martyr. Isabella's cold, mocking voice snapped me back to reality. You might as well try to play hard to get, Kaido. See how that works out for you. A divorce agreement. I'd sign it hell or high water. I was signing this thing today. Isabella, I said, my voice steady. I'll sign, but you have to agree to one condition. A contemptuous smirk played on her lips. She let her silk robe slip from her shoulders. What? You want to screw me one time for the road? You're not worthy. She tossed the robe on my face, and a wave of sweet, intoxicating perfume hit me. I swear, in that moment, the primal male part of my brain went into overdrive. Isabella, Isabella, you have no idea what you're doing, taunting a man like this when you're alone with him. But I calmed myself. I wouldn't dare force her. Even if the novels on Trashfire Reads were full of idiot CEOs with romantic illusions, this was the real world now, or at least a world that felt real. All Isabella had to do was scream, and security would be on me in seconds. I let the robe fall to the floor and ground it under my heel, a small symbolic act of defiance against the woman who held all the cards. Isabella just pursed her lips, unimpressed. Sign the papers, she said, her voice laced with boredom. Don't waste my time. See, the untouchable CEO in public, a crude tyrant in private. I was her contract husband, but I was also her dog. Do you care about your dog's dignity? To be fair, for all her arrogance, she'd never been truly cruel. No whips, no making me kneel, no forcing me to roleplay as her precious Javier. She had a baseline of decency, but over 3 years of living together, she'd gotten comfortable ordering me around, washing her lingerie, giving her foot massages, even running her bath. I got to see everything, but I couldn't have any of it. 3 years, and I was still a virgin husband. Tragic. But I wasn't that guy anymore. I picked up the pen. I already knew the terms by heart. $50 million in cash, a waterfront villa in the Keys, 2 luxury cars, and a couple of commercial properties downtown. The original Kaido would have refused because he loved her. I didn't, and for that kind of payout, I'd sign my own death warrant. Kaido Tanaka. I scribbled my name, pressed my thumb onto the ink pad, and stamped it. Perfect. Isabella's lips curved into a slight, genuine smile. There was a flicker of appreciation in her eyes. Well done, Kaido. You surprised me. Now, she said, all business again. What's your condition? Anything but my body. She was still a virgin. Her strict upbringing and personal principles kept her from crossing that line, even for love. I was about to shatter that so-called love. Now that the papers were signed, I didn't have to grovel anymore. I pulled out my phone. I have a gift for you. You just have to promise you'll watch it with me. Isabella was like an ancient emperor. Her word was her bond, especially when it came to matters of pride. She nodded. You have 10 minutes. I dialed her assistant's number. Chun, Ms. Rossi needs you to send me the number for the cleaner. You have 1 minute. Isabella's expression hardened. Were you planning? A cleaner was what the wealthy called their fixers, the dogs they kept on retainer to handle problems that existed outside the law. If I had tried to force myself on Isabella, my fate would have been in their hands. I'd be torn to shreds. I didn't say a word, just waited. A moment later, a number buzzed on my phone. At the same time, Isabella's phone rang. It was Chun. She answered, listened, and simply said, I know. The number was a local Seattle area code. I called it and put it on speaker. A gravelly voice on the other and knew who I was. Mr. Tanaka, how can I help you? $100,000, I said. I want all the information you have on Javier Morales' time abroad. Focus on his bodyguard, the black guy. There was a long pause. Is Miss Rossi there? Isabella's voice was like ice. Make it 200,000. Do as he says. You have 10 minutes. She hung up, then turned to me with a sneer. You won't have the authority to make that call anymore. Did you really think I haven't had Javier investigated? He's been studying his ass off, got his master's from Columbia. He's one of the most promising young investors in Silicon Valley, and, most importantly, for the past 3 years, just like me, he has been completely celibate. Hearing her slowly enunciate those words, I couldn't help it. I burst out laughing. Forget the fact that I'd seen every inch of her naked body while helping her bath. Did she really think Javier was that pure? She might not know the truth, but I did. I was from the world where his story was already written. 10 minutes isn't long, I said. Just sit back and enjoy the show, Isabella. As we waited, I darted into the master bathroom and returned with the basin I used for her foot soaks. What are you doing? She asked, a hint of her old imperiousness returning. If you're going to give me a foot soak, where's the water? I rolled my eyes. We were divorced. Only a dog would still be waiting on her hand and foot. I figured you might need this, I said, placing it on the floor in front of her. You know, in case you get nauseous. Understanding dawned on her face, followed by a cold fury, but then a flicker of something else. $1 million, she said, one last time. I was happy to oblige. 10 minutes passed in a blur. Her feet were soaking, and the phone rang. I was massaging her arches. For $500,000, I'd have used my tongue. This life wasn't so bad. It was a shame she wanted a divorce, but I wasn't about to be the guy wearing the horns. The voice on the phone was back. Mr. Tanaka, you have impeccable timing. A real sixth sense. Would you prefer a video file or a live stream? I wanted the live stream, of course, but I wasn't about to spend any more of my money. Isabella, however, spent it like it was nothing. Another 100,000, she commanded. Right away. The voice replied respectfully. I'm sending Mr. Tanaka a secure link. A moment later, I got a WhatsApp message with a link. I accepted the connection, and the video feed opened. The first glimpse made my stomach turn. Isabella reached for the phone, but I instinctively covered the screen. Damn it, part of me, the original Kaido maybe, still loved her. This was going to destroy her. Isabella, the stream is graphic. If you see this, you'll never unsee it. It will haunt you. Get out of my way, she snapped, snatching the phone. Her eyes locked onto the screen, and she froze. Somewhere in California, in the daylight, was a dimly lit room on a large bed, a tangle of limbs, one pale, one dark. The logistics of their position left nothing to the imagination. The video was shot covertly, probably a camera aimed through a window, so the image was slightly blurry. But anyone who knew that pale body would recognize it instantly. Isabella recognized her great lost love. Her hand gripped the phone so tightly I could hear the plastic creak, threatening to shatter. Why was she still watching? Did she like this? Oh, God! She was a pervert. The thought sent a chill down my spine. I suddenly wanted to flee Seattle, but not before I got my parting shots in. Huh, Isabella, is this your great love? I taunted, my voice dripping with venom. This is your epic romance. The man who is saving himself for you? You were so busy investigating the women around him. Did it ever occur to you to check on the man? Your precious Javier doesn't have a girlfriend, Isabella. He has a black boyfriend. Surprise, isn't it exciting? I ragged on her for a full 3 minutes, but she didn't react. She was a statue. Finally, consciousness seemed to seep back into her body. Her voice was a raw, mangled rasp, like it had been run over by a truck. Kaido, help me. I realized then she wasn't transfixed. She was paralyzed. Shock had locked up her body. I wanted to laugh, but I didn't dare. I tried to pry her fingers from the phone, but they were clamped shut with the strength of sheer terror. It took several minutes of gently massaging her hand before I could get the phone free. I killed the live stream, but not before saving a short clip. I uploaded it to my private iCloud, sent it to a burner account, and deleted all the local traces. Only then did I lift Isabella onto the bed and begin massaging her rigid limbs. This would probably be the last time I'd ever touch this soft, fragrant body. What a waste. The trauma from that video would be immense. She could either swing to one extreme and become a full-blown hedonist, or she could retreat into herself and become a nun. But I didn't regret it. She had mocked my love, so I had to destroy hers. It was only fair. An eye for an eye. Now we were even. Wretch. The moment she regained control of her body, she shot up and vomited directly onto me. I didn't have time to react. I was covered from head to toe. Perfect. Dame Isabella, you've got to be. I stopped. I looked at her, and my anger evaporated. She was crying. This was Isabella Rossi, the untouchable queen who commanded an empire of over 100,000 employees, and she was sobbing like a lost child. I fell silent and began to clean up. I drew a hot bath, carefully undressed her, and carried her to the tub. While she soaked, I showered in the same bathroom right in front of her. It was the first time she'd ever seen me fully naked. I expected her to get sick again at the sight of a man's body, but she just stared, her eyes vacant, watching me. After I had showered and changed, I finished cleaning the room, then helped bathe her. I knew the routine. She often came home from business dinners drunk, a mess of vomit and tears. I'd seen her at her absolute worst. In that small way, my experience was a little richer than the other poor saps in those novels who never even got to hold their contract wife's hand. But honestly, even if it's a goddess, vomit is still just foul, disgusting puke. In those moments, who has the energy to think about anything else? I got her cleaned up. She threw up twice more until only yellow bile came out. She must have been thinking about Javier again. By the time I had her settled, she was fast asleep. I carried her to her own bedroom, not the master suite we technically shared. I took one last long look at her. This might be the last time we ever saw each other. No words, no goodbyes. I was gone like the wind. I walked out of my own bedroom, pulling 2 large suitcases behind me. Inside were the spoils of my 3-year war: bespoke suits, expensive watches, cufflinks, and designer shoes, all gifts from her. As for the money and property, Isabella wouldn't go back on her word. I figured Chun would be in touch tomorrow. 15 miles from Isabella's waterfront mansion, I unlocked the door to a modest 3-bedroom apartment. I bought it with the money I'd saved for my monthly stipend. Isabella knew about it, but I also knew her pride would never allow her to show up here. Logically, I should have taken the money and run to a city where no one knew me. But on second thought, showing up in a new town with that much cash felt like a sheep walking into a den of wolves. Better to stay in Seattle. I could still trade on the faint echo of Isabella's influence to live a quiet life. When the Rossi Group eventually collapsed in a few years, as it did in the novel, I could disappear then. I slept like a rock and woke up at 10 in the morning. Life without having to cater to Isabella was glorious. I turned on my phone. Dozens of missed calls and texts flooded in, all from Lena Petrova, Isabella's best friend. Not a single call for Isabella herself, of course. The heartless bitch. All those trashy web novels about repentant CEOs chasing after their ex-husbands are lies. A woman as proud as Isabella Rossi would die before she'd lower her head. Fine. I wouldn't lower mine either. I turned my phone off again. We meet in 30 days to get the divorce finalized, and that would be that. But you can't always get what you want. Soon enough, Lena Petrova was banging on my door. Kaido Tanaka, you spineless bastard, what did you do to Isabella? Seeing her, I couldn't help but feel a pang of nostalgia. I used to be more afraid of Lena than I was of Isabella. She was petite, but she was a human firecracker. I'd take being called a loser from anyone else with a grain of salt, but when Lena said it, I knew I'd earned it. A year into my marriage, Lena had gotten Isabella drunk and tossed her into my bed, a deliberate setup. And what did I do? I just held her while we slept. Literally, just slept. I didn't do a single thing. From that day on, Lena wrote me off as a total waste of space and never again tried to play matchmaker. Kaido, what did you do? She demanded, jabbing a finger in my chest. Why does she throw up every time Javier's phone rings or whenever she hears his name? And why is it that when she hears your name, she doesn't get sick? She just looks like she wants to murder you. It was a 3-pronged attack, and I had no good answer. Lena was the most loyal friend I'd ever seen, real or fictional. She was genuinely devoted to Isabella. Later in the story, when the Rossi Group went bankrupt, it was Lena who helped Isabella get back on her feet. They were friends for life. But if I showed her the video, if I told her the truth, would she be disgusted with Isabella by association? Would she feel contaminated? Javier's little hobby was seriously disturbing. Talk, or I swear to God I'm gonna start swinging. Seeing she was about to get physical, I threw my hands up in surrender and squeaked, "Help." "Oh, you think this is funny?" Lena's fist, small but solid, finally connected. It felt like being pelted with hail. It kinda hurt. 5 minutes later, a winded Lena tossed a credit card on the coffee table. $100,000. That's for the first one. You've got 9 more coming. 10 grand a punch. Totally worth it. Okay, I said, rubbing my jaw. What did you do? Did you come in her mouth or something? Some other disgusting thing? I thought about it for a second and decided to just come clean. I was done with these rich, dramatic people. Lena, last night I made Isabella watch a live stream about Javier, and then she started throwing up a lot. As I spoke, my eyes fell on 2 action figures on my bookshelf. I grabbed them and demonstrated the classic pose for her. Ass to ass. One's white, one's black. You get the picture. As everyone knows, a woman's imagination is a powerful thing. Sometimes what you imagine is far more graphic than the truth. I don't know what scene Lena pictured in her head, but she clamped a hand over her mouth and bolted for my bathroom. I heard the sounds of violent retching. Sigh. Another victim. Lena dragged me to the hospital. Isabella was a person with a deep-seated, almost pathological need for purity. Javier knew this. On the surface, he had been a saint abroad, rejecting all female advances. Isabella believed her great lost love was saving himself for her. She never imagined that he didn't have a girlfriend because he had a very close male bodyguard. Yesterday's live stream had become Isabella's waking nightmare. The memory alone made her sick. So now she was here, unable to keep food down, running a fever. The second I walked into the private suite, I saw her. She looked like a broken doll. My heart ached, but I steeled myself and put on a cold smile. What's wrong? You look heartbroken. Tell me all about it. I could use a good laugh. Isabella was too weak to even argue with me, but Lena, standing behind me, was not. She grabbed my ear and twisted hard. I brought you here to cheer her up, you asshole. You say one more sarcastic thing, and you can give me my money back. I winced, grinning sheepishly. The money was my lifeline. It's a psychological issue. What am I supposed to do? Go find Javier and drag him here. Wretch. The moment she heard his name, Isabella gagged again, but having not eaten all day, only a little clear fluid came up. Kaido, just go, she whispered, her voice weak. And remember, never say that name in front of me again. If you do, I'll hand you over to the cleaners. I felt wronged. I didn't do anything. I warned her before she watched the video, and now she wanted to destroy me. Chloe's sight. She hasn't eaten a thing all day. There's a small kitchenette in the suite. Could you make her something she likes? This hospital was owned by the Rossi family. The VIP suite was nicer than most presidential suites. I called the house manager, and within 10 minutes, fresh ingredients were delivered. Lobster bisque. I even added a bit of caviar to get the texture just right. I painstakingly peeled the delicate membrane off each individual egg. Lena watched me work, a thoughtful expression on her face. Isabella knows how good you are to her, she said quietly. She just doesn't know how to appreciate it. And she's so proud. She'd never admit she was wrong, even if she regrets it. You too, she trailed off. Look, without me, you two would have been over ages ago. Don't worry, I've got you back. Honestly, I wasn't even sure I wanted to be with Isabella anymore. The wealth gap was too massive. It made me feel insecure and inadequate. I had no faith in our marriage. Today it was the great lost love, tomorrow it could be her assistant, and the day after that, some college kid she was mentoring. The trashy novel starter pack for a female CEO, the first love, the male assistant, the younger protege, and the kept brother figure. Oh, and a loser husband. Isabella had already checked off one box. But I wasn't a loser. At the very least, I wouldn't let myself be cheated on. The biscuit was ready. I let it cool slightly before bringing it to her. Her expression was still numb, but the rich aroma seemed to bring her back to life. Thank you, she murmured. Then, out of habit, she opened her mouth, waiting for me to feed her. Well, the rich get what they want. I wasn't about to argue with a sick person. I fed her spoonful by spoonful. She finished 2 large bowls and finally seemed to regain some of her strength. I decided it was time to go. In 30 days, 10 a.m. I'll be waiting at the courthouse. I paused at the door. By the way, Isabella, a storm is coming. Is the Rossi Group ready for it? Can you keep the 5-year-old secret of the Harbor View Lot 2 project buried? Without waiting for a reaction, I turned and left, my exit clean and final. I knew the plot of the novel. Originally, I wasn't going to interfere with Isabella's bankruptcy, but as of now, we were still a single entity. I hadn't seen a dime of that $50 million yet, nor the deeds to the properties. According to the original story, Javier Morales would be arriving in Seattle this evening. In 2 days, he would start his campaign against me. The Morales family was also a powerhouse in Seattle. For now, I still needed Isabella's protection. After I left, my words left Isabella stunned. The secret of that land deal was known only to a handful of top executives at the Rossi Group. How did Kaito know? What did he mean? Was someone planning to use that secret to destroy them? Slowly, Isabella's composure returned. One secret wasn't enough to bring down an empire like Rossi. Over the years, the company had its share of skeletons. Her father and she had been working to clean things up, but past mistakes, even when corrected, leave scars. They wouldn't stand up to a serious investigation. Lena, I need to get out of here, she said, her voice firm. Kaito was right. A storm is coming. Lena didn't know the details about Harbor View Lot 2, and she didn't ask. Seeing Isabella's urgency, she understood someone was making a move on the Rossi Group. The easiest way to break a fortress is from the inside, and Isabella was the most obvious target. Over the years, countless men had tried to get close to her using all sorts of schemes, especially the tired old damsel in distress rescue trope. But the wealthy have ways of dealing with such ploys. They were especially cautious about that one. If you tried it, they'd investigate your family back 18 generations. Maybe only in cheap novels did the rich fall for the "I'll devote my life to you for saving me" cliché. Lena had been about to say that Javier's return was suspiciously timed, but remembering Isabella's reaction to his name, she held her tongue. Isabella, maybe you should ask Kaito to come back. Based on what he just said and what happened yesterday, he's not a loser. He really loves you. A flicker of warmth crossed Isabella's cold eyes, but her tone remained frosty. I know he's capable, but I can't ask him back. Not yet. He's only safe as long as he's outside the Rossi family, away from me. Lena's eyes widened in realization. So you deliberately divorced him to protect him? Isabella paused. It was a good excuse, but she disdained lying. That's half of it. The other half is that I did still have feelings for that person. Now I see it was just nostalgia for a youthful crush. The wise don't fall in love. That saying is true. You're always chasing what you can't have, and you ignore the person who loves you most right by your side. If Kaito wants to leave, I'll let him go. Lena stomped her foot in frustration. That was Isabella for you. Proud to a fault. Back at the Rossi Group headquarters, Isabella's mind was in turmoil. She realized she was sick before she could even begin to work. She gave her first order to Chun. Schedule an appointment for me with Dr. Anna Sharma, the therapist at Mindwell Female. Also, from now on, my core security detail will be all women. The second and third parameters can have men. My driver is to be replaced with a woman, and no men are allowed in my office. Furthermore, if that person from California returns, he is not to come within 100 yards of me. Chin took notes, her mind reeling in shock. What's happened to the boss? It's like she's developed some kind of phobia, but so severe she can't even be around men. As for that person, after 5 years as her assistant, Chin knew exactly who she meant. She never thought she'd see the day the boss would refuse to see him, let alone ban him from coming near her. What was going on? After giving her orders, Isabella opened a file on her desk, but her thoughts were on Kaito's warning. The Harbor View project had been developed 5 years ago. Whatever secrets lay beneath it were now buried under a skyscraper. Who would use that to attack them now? She knew Kaito. He wouldn't lie to her about something so serious. The calm before the storm, she whispered to herself. At Seattle-Tacoma International Airport, Javier Morales stepped off the plane and saw no one waiting for him. Something was wrong. He and Isabella had agreed yesterday that she would pick him up. He tried calling her before takeoff, but she didn't answer. He'd assumed she was planning a surprise. This was not the surprise he wanted. Could it be that her useless contract husband was refusing to cooperate with the divorce? Javier sneered. He, the real leading man, was back. How dare a stand-in have the audacity to remain in Seattle? The man had a death wish. He pulled out his phone. Hey, it's me. Find out where Isabella Rossi is right now. Seattle was a big city, but it was also a small one. The circles the wealthy moved in, the restaurants, clubs, and parties were limited. Soon, Javier's phone rang. What? What do you mean, Isabella's pregnant? He roared into the phone. That's impossible. She told me her husband had never even laid a finger on her. Morning sickness? It's that bad. She's in the hospital. Javier hung up and hurled his phone against the concrete floor, where it shattered, as if he could smash Isabella and her fake husband to pieces along with it. That evening at 8 o'clock, the Pinnacle Club was hosting the 80th birthday gala for Old Man Kensington, the patriarch of another of Seattle's prominent families. Javier was there. He hadn't been able to locate Isabella, but he knew she would have to make an appearance to pay her respects. I was there too. I really hadn't wanted to come, but Lena had insisted. She'd waved a $5 million check in my face, and I admitted, I caved. Here, in the eyes of the public, I resumed my official role, the son-in-law of the Rossi family. Isabella was on my arm, a dazzling smile on her face. I was decked out in a custom tuxedo, looking sharp and sophisticated. To outsiders, we were the perfect couple, a match made in heaven. It was all an act. I saw it internally but didn't dare let it show. Isabella, for her part, was probably just as uncomfortable. We paid our respects, gave the gift, offered our congratulations, and exchanged a few pleasantries. My job was done. There was still a banquet, an after-party, and parting gifts. My plan was to lay low, grab the gift bag, and get out. Shit. Kaido, Javier Morales is here. Lena hissed, finding me in a corner where I was enjoying some matcha-flavored macarons. What will we go to do about Isabella? She was worried Isabella would see him and have another episode. I shrugged. She can't hide forever. Eventually, you get used to throwing up. Lena shot me a death glare and dragged me back toward Isabella. The CEO was in her element, chatting and laughing with a group of fellow female executives. Deals worth hundreds of millions were being casually sealed between sips of champagne. I could only watch and envy. I'd love to talk about nine-figure deals with her, but she was never interested. Isabella hated being interrupted when she was talking business. I was afraid to approach, but Lena had no such qualms. She squeezed into the circle and whispered in Isabella's ear, "That person is here. Should we leave early?" Isabella desperately wanted to run, but she couldn't. She was the CEO of the Rossi Group. The livelihoods of over 100,000 people depended on her. She had to close these deals tonight. It was her duty. Tell Kaido to stay close to me. If I'm going to be sick, I'm going to be sick on him. Lena was speechless. Are you serious? Isabella gave her a mysterious smile. You wouldn't understand. He has unique tastes. Here's a check for $1 million. That should keep him from getting mad. Lena just stared. You two are a special kind of crazy. A match made in hell. After paying his respects, Javier Morales spotted Isabella. She was always the brightest star in any room. He was about to walk over, but he saw she was talking business, so he waited patiently off to the side, a perfect smile on his face. His eyes held a mixture of emotions, 30% love, 50% admiration, and 20% condescending mockery, as if Isabella wasn't just his lover, but also his prized employee. But his gaze shifted, and he finally saw me, Kaido Tanaka. Javier couldn't resist. He grabbed a glass of champagne and sauntered over. Kaido Tanaka, I'm Javier Morales. I pretended not to know him, giving a polite nod but saying nothing. After all, we'd never actually met. A few of Javier's friends gathered around, sensing a confrontation was brewing. One of them smirked. Mr. Rossenlaw, your cuff is a little wrinkled. Did the maid miss a spot? I smiled faintly. The asshole was trying to call me poor and humiliate me. Mr. Ford, I said calmly, I hear the road back to your family's old money is a treacherous one. One wrong step, and you could lose your footing. The atmosphere went dead silent. The so-called Mr. Ford looked like he'd seen a ghost. What? What are you talking about? That's slander. I just smiled. Truth isn't determined by who has the loudest voice, is it? Shouting just shows you have something to hide. Ford paled and beat a hasty retreat. His friends, seeing the tables had turned, scurried after him without so much as a word to Javier. Javier was furious. He couldn't believe I'd scared off his posse with a single sentence. He moved closer to me and, pretending it was an accident, knocked a drink out of a passing guest's hand. "Oh, I am so sorry," he said, his voice dripping with false sincerity. "Mr. Harrison, would you mind cleaning that up for me? I really must go talk to Isabella. You wouldn't be so petty as to refuse, would you?" I kept my smile plastered on my face, but inside I wanted to smash his. He was going to hit on my wife and leave me to clean up his mess. Who the hell did he think he was? The move was pure poison. If I'd bent down to clean it, I'd be playing the part of a servant in front of everyone, disgracing not just myself but the Rossi name. I smiled sweetly and declined. "I'm sorry, I can't. My wife and I were trying for a baby during her last fertile window." I pulled a muscle in my back. "It's still acting up." The guest whose drink had been spilled, a middle-aged man who had stuck around to watch the drama, burst out laughing. He gave me a thumbs up before finally walking away. Javier, who was still standing there, went rigid. His face turned to stone. 3 words echoed in his mind. Fertile window. What fertile window? It was impossible. He couldn't take it anymore. He stormed toward Isabella. He was 3 steps away when he spread his arms, ready for an embrace. "Isabella," he said, his voice full of emotion. "I'm back." But the moment Isabella saw him, her face went deathly pale. As he reached for her, she gagged. To vomit in a place like this would be a grave insult to the host, but I was faster. I lunged forward, holding a small paper gift bag under her chin just in time. Isabella was already the center of attention. Her sudden sickness drew every eye in the room. We were all adults. We all knew what a woman vomiting could mean. Javier knew too. He stood there like a fool, staring at Isabella as she heaved, the words from the airport phone call flashing in his mind. "Isabella is having morning sickness. She's pregnant." Javier staggered back a step. He had painstakingly played the part of a devoted lover for 3 years, returning home ready to conquer. He was going to take over the Rossi group and take Isabella with it. But how could this bitch be pregnant? Why? On what grounds? He wanted to slap her, to kick that bastard child out of her stomach, to kill her contract husband, but he had to restrain himself. He forced himself to walk closer. "Isabella, are you pregnant?" "I don't mind." As the words left his lips, he felt his heart bleeding. God, the hatred was immense. The crowd watched him with a mixture of amusement and pity. Now that was true love. Even I had to give him credit. He was shameless, just as you'd expect from Isabella's great lost love. Lena stepped forward, planting herself between them. "What the hell are you talking about? Your mother's pregnant? Open your damn eyes and look. She's sick because the sight of you is disgusting. If you have any self-respect left, get the hell out of here now." Under the weight of everyone's mocking, pitying, and curious stares, Javier could only try to save face. "Isabella, you should rest. We'll talk another time." But Isabella was still caught in a wave of physiological nausea, too sick to even look at him. As Javier retreated, Isabella slowly regained her composure. For a second, a wave of sadness washed over her. Just a few days ago, they had been whispering sweet nothings to each other over the phone. Now, the mere mention of his name made her sick, let alone the sight of him. That live stream was a scar she would carry for life. "Kaido Tanaka," she said, her voice low. "You're a cruel man. Are you satisfied now?" I couldn't help but let out a small, triumphant chuckle before composing myself. "You can't blame it all on me. I'd say you both had it coming." Isabella looked weak. She took a glass of water from Lena, but hesitated before drinking. "You didn't drug this, did you?" Lena rolled her eyes in exasperation. Ever since the night she delivered a drunk Isabella to my bed, her best friend had been wary of anything she handed her. "Isabella, look at yourself. Do you really think I need to drug you in your current state? Kaido could probably knock you out in 3 minutes flat." My jaw dropped. Lena was a legend. When she was angry, she had the mouth of a sailor. No filter. Isabella blushed and took the glass, downing the water in one gulp. There. I drank it. A week passed after the birthday gala. I hadn't contacted Isabella or Lena. I had nothing but time on my hands. I thought about getting a job, but I couldn't stand the thought of having a boss. Besides, who would pay me as much as Isabella had? Comparing the options, I decided to work for myself. I started making short-form videos. As someone from another world, I had a gold mine of songs that were considered original creations here. A little money for a producer and a few recording sessions was all it took. Within days of uploading my first few songs to TikTok, I became a minor influencer. The royalties were surprisingly good. I realized making money could be this easy. I'd never have to bow and scrape before Isabella again. As for Lena, I'd take her money and throw it right back in her face. I thought my good days were just beginning. Then one night, I went to sleep and woke up in Isabella's villa on her huge, soft, fragrant bed. It would have been perfect if my arms and legs weren't chained to the bedposts. Okay, shamefully, I still wanted her. You're awake, Kaido. Don't blame me for this, she said, her voice soft. You brought this on yourself. It's time to pay your dues. I was horrified. Isabella, clad in a silk nightgown, climbed on top of me. She wasn't wearing anything underneath. I wasn't wearing anything at all. The morning sun streamed through the window, awakening the world. My body answered spring's call. You've gotten so thin. I stammered, my concern automatic. What are you doing here? My first thought was for her. Isabella's eyes softened, but her resolve didn't waver. You, she said, one word, and then she was on me. I was speechless. What the hell was happening? This was a new development. Looking at Isabella's bloodshot eyes and a single tear tracing a path down her cheek, I could only remain silent. A strange thought popped into my head. Yandere. Less than 3 minutes later, Isabella rolled off me, a confused and dissatisfied look on her face. So it really is you. You can't last 3 minutes. I have to tell Lena. It wasn't my fault. My face burned with shame. Well, I mumbled. It was my first time, you know. Isabella's eyes lit up. She leaned down and kissed me, a real smile spreading across her face. It was like a light had switched on in the dim room. Oh, that's perfect. Then we're even. Thanks for saving me the trouble. I wanted to cry. That's how this works. Unchain me, I pleaded. It's my turn to be on top next time. Isabella considered it. We'd already done it. If I tried to run, she could just have my legs broken. But she still insisted on her position. I'm Isabella Rossi. I was confused. I know that. She pouted. Isabella Rossi is never on the bottom. I had to placate her. Okay, Your Majesty. How about I teach you a few new tricks? They feel really good. Really? But you said it was your first time. They'll feel good. I'm a beginner, but I've had tutors. Japanese tutors. Fine. But if it doesn't feel good, I'm back on top. This time she was more cooperative. After a 10-minute break, I asked her why she'd chained me up. It turned out I had dug this pit for myself. Isabella was sick, a psychological illness, and I was her medicine. Because of the live stream, because of Javier, she had developed a deep-seated revulsion to physical contact with men. She had seen several therapists over the past week. The consensus was that only the source of the trauma could provide the cure, and I was her cure. Because she didn't feel repulsed by my touch, she wasn't disgusted by my body. As for why she'd taken the initiative, I was to blame for that, too. The rumor that she was pregnant had spread through all of Seattle's high society. It was a lie, but too many powerful people wanted to make it true. The Rossi Group's board of directors, her own parents, their business partners. It was a classic case of a lie told often enough becoming the truth. She was trapped. She could deny it, but the company's stock would plummet. In such a volatile time, she couldn't risk it. Without the Rossi empire, her life would be miserable. Besides, she confessed, she did love me. She didn't know how much. People in her world were like that. They didn't understand love or how to show it. All she knew was that she only wanted to have children with me. 2 of them. One to carry the Rossi name, one to carry Tanaka. I heard that and thought, fair enough. I can live with that deal. What is love, anyway? Marriage is the longest confession. An idea formed in my mind. I could help cure her illness, but I wouldn't cure it completely. Her aversion to other men was a good thing. The only problem was she seemed to have turned into a full-blown Yandere. A Yandere wouldn't cheat, but she sure as hell wouldn't let me cheat either. Could I really stay faithful for a lifetime? Round 2, let's go. Isabella, unchain me. Kiss me for 10 minutes first. We need to do this a few more times. It's my fertile window today. What could I say to that? My actions spoke for themselves. For 3 days we barely left the bedroom. Isabella visibly bloomed, her body regaining its soft curves, her skin glowing. When she walked into the office on the 4th day, employees whispered that the CEO looked like she'd swallowed a magic pill. On the 4th day, I also left the villa. My legs were shaking so badly, I felt like a stiff breeze could knock me over. The dark circles under my eyes would have made a panda jealous. But I had a recording session today. A man's got to work. Meanwhile, Isabella was facing a new crisis. A letter had arrived from Javier Morales. He hadn't been idle this past week, but Isabella had blocked his number, his social media, his email. She refused his packages in person. He couldn't get within 100 yards of her, so he resorted to sending a letter via an official business courier, disguising it as a work document. He'd written it himself. After several unanswered letters, he dropped the act of the pining lover and revealed his true colors. He was threatening her. 2 documents. The first detailed how a Rossi subsidiary had deliberately damaged and covered up historical artifacts during the development of the Harborview Lot 2 project 5 years ago. The second detailed how the company had forged soil toxicity reports for a residential project in a Pinewood district. Isabella held the documents and sat in silence for hours. Javier's threat was both laughable and disgusting. He wasn't even asking for a divorce anymore. He was demanding she have his child. He had figured out that she got sick at the mere mention of his name and knew she must have discovered his history, so he settled for the next best thing, a child. With a child, he would have a legitimate reason to enter the Rossi Group. Then he could denigrate a few more scandals, drive down the stock price, initiate a hostile takeover, and finally bankrupt the company. The Morales family would swallow the Rossi Group whole and become the undisputed #1 family in Seattle. Then even if he came out of the closet, who would dare laugh at him? Their plan was meticulous, but their execution had been slow. 3 days had passed since Isabella received Javier's letter. Today was his deadline. We were in the study of the old Rossi family estate. In attendance were Walter Rossi, Isabella's father, her mother, Helen, Lena Petrova, and me, the tag-along. Normally, I would never have been invited to a family meeting of this gravity, but this time Isabella had insisted. She said I was part of the family. She called me the pillar of the household. She said I was the future father of her child. With that much praise, how could I refuse? Walter and Helen, having been filled in on my recent heroics, treated me with a warmth I'd never experienced before. They acted like I was their biological son. Since that was the case, I decided not to hold back. It was time to show my true value. Dad, Mom, Isabella, and Lena, I began. What I'm about to say is top secret. I paid a lot of money for this information, and it's all verified. You can check it for yourselves. With that preface, I started. Dad, your executive assistant, Mr. Sheffield, has been having an affair with your 5th mistress for the past 5 years, and before she was with you, she was working for the Quinn family. Walter stood up, ready to argue, but I held up a hand to stop him. Your cousin, Uncle Gene, is planning to sell his 5% stake in the company at the next board meeting. Directors Jiao Yin and Tian are on the fence, but they'll probably follow his lead, and there are already people on Wall Street setting up to short the company's stock. I took a sip of tea, giving Walter time to make a few calls. After a few hushed, tense conversations, his face was as black as thunder. He was trembling with rage. I continued. The authorities will be receiving anonymous tips about the company, about you, Dad, and about Isabella. And you too, Mom. Helen was shocked. Me? I've been retired for 10 years. What do they have on me? It's not a huge deal, I said gently, but you've been paying off your brother's gambling debts for years and co-signing his loans. The amounts have gotten substantial. You should be prepared. Helen slumped into a chair, looking faint. Walter, the old veteran, collected himself. Go on, he commanded. Drawing from my memory of the novel, I laid out the entire sequence of events that led to the Rossi Group's bankruptcy. As I spoke, Walter realized how many things had been happening under his nose. Isabella was just as shocked, a cold sweat breaking out on her skin. Honey, she said, her voice full of awe. How much did you pay for all this? Once we get through this crisis, I'll pay you back double. I smiled. Who said talking about money ruins a relationship? Nonsense. Walter had also regained his composure. Now that he knew the enemy's playbook, he could preempt their every move. The hunter had become the hunted. Kaido, he said, you have a brilliant mind for business. Come work for the company. I'll make you a vice president. I laughed and shook my head. I knew my own limits. If I hadn't read the book, I'd just be an ordinary guy. Dad, I'm not joining the company, and I don't want any shares. I have my own passions. Isabella supported me. My little Yandera was now my biggest fan. Dad, my husband is a musical genius. He writes, composes, and sings. He's going to be an international superstar one day. Working for us will be a waste of his talent. Lena chimed in. That's right, Uncle Walter. I was just thinking of buying an entertainment company to sign him. Isabella's Yandere senses went into overdrive. He's my husband. I'll buy him an entertainment company myself. Lena shot back. What do you know about the entertainment industry, Isabella? Look at you. Can you even last 10 minutes with him anymore? Isabella, defeated, could only mutter, just don't let him have a red carpet romance. Lena scoffed. I didn't dare say a word. Walter sipped his tea. Helen offered me a cigarette. 2 weeks later, the war between the Rossi, Morales, and Quinn families was over. The Rossi group was wounded but had survived, and it was now rapidly absorbing the spoils of its victory. Javier Morales, the man who had once been so arrogant in front of me, was now in a detention center awaiting trial. One day, out of boredom, Lena and I went to visit him. From the sound of it, he was facing life in prison. We sat down opposite him, separated by a pane of glass. Are you here to gloat? He spat. Does it make you feel good, kicking a man when he's down? Lena slammed her hand on the glass. I came to see you, Rod, and to make sure everyone in our circle sees what happens when you mess with us. A cautionary tale. I smirked and pulled out my phone. Javier, you always wanted to know why Isabella got sick every time she saw you, right? Here, take a look at your masterpiece. I played the video. The graphic scene on the screen seemed to transport Javier back in time. He stared, his expression dazed. You had someone film that? He whispered. I smiled. I was the mastermind, but Isabella was the one who paid for it. Javier's face grew even paler. Then our plan. I adopted a look of deep respect. My father-in-law is a brilliant man. That was the last straw. Javier lost the will to speak and signaled to the guard that the visit was over. As he was led away, he looked back, his eyes burning with a hateful fire. Kaito Tanaka, we'll meet again in the next life. I flinched. A fight, fine, but he needed to be a lot more specific about what kind of fight he meant. Goddamn pervert. 2 weeks after that, a shriek echoed from the master bathroom. I rushed in, thinking something was wrong. Isabella was standing there clutching a pregnancy test. She was beaming. Honey, look. 2 lines. I knew what 2 lines meant. I swept her up into my arms. All the time I'd spent pampering her lately had paid off. She was softer, fuller, and smelled incredible. She burrowed into my chest. Honey, for the next 3 months, we can't, you know, she pouted playfully. I'm afraid I won't be able to control myself. I held her tight. I'll be strong with you, honey. We'll get through it together. Isabella's eyes took on that familiar feverish glint. The next morning, I woke up to a familiar scene. My arms and legs were chained to the bedposts. Isabella stirred beside me, looking adorably sleepy. I had to tie you up, honey, she cooed. This way I don't have to worry about you cheating on me. I sighed. This was the downside of having a Yandere for a wife. So needy. I regretted it. I regretted ever showing her that live stream. But then again, I was glad I did. Life doesn't give you do-overs. The only thing you can do is cherish what you have.